Welcome to Brew Crime, the podcast where we drink brews, talk crime, conspiracies, or whatever catches our attention. This is Mike and my co-host.
Hey, it's JT. Hi, everybody.
Hello, hello.
Hello, sir. How have you been?
Oh, I am satisfactory. How about you? Needs improvement.
Reasonably neutral. I don't know.
Wonderful.
I woke up today and I wasn't offended by M&Ms. We're doing well.
Yes.
I mean, I've been called a snowflake for like the past 4 years, 5 years. And if that means that I don't get offended by fictional spokespeople, I'm good.
Enough snowflakes bound together, you can throw at people's faces.
That's true. Or bury them.
True.
Permanently. In an icy coffin.
Not permanently because it's snowflakes.
But if there's enough of us, it's an avalanche.
True.
Listen, I don't ski. I just assume that's how it works.
True. Well, I mean, this episode, and then there's going to be a 2-week break, and then the next episode of this theme, it'll make sense for snow because we are doing Crimes of Manitoba, and Manitoba is fucking cold in the winter.
There are so many ways to describe a province, and this one, the sign when you drive into it says, fucking cold. That's it. That's
Probably
all it
does,
says.
yeah.
I don't know what in all my, looking up Manitoba, Winnipeg, I didn't find, the province phrase. I don't know if there is one. It's certainly not Go West, Young Man.
Oh, the provincial motto is glorious and free. Oh, my God.
Glorious and... Okay, all right. Now we got to talk about which way they lean politically. I'm going to the right.
Yes, you're right.
Look at that,
you're
glorious
right.
and free.
Oh, that is too funny.
At least, I don't know. Maybe their freedom is defined by guns. Is their freedom defined by guns? I don't think it is.
Well, it is in Alberta these days, so who knows?
I mean, I read, I sent you a picture today that said, I know what the AR and AR-15 stands for. Tiny penis. That's what it stands for.
Yes, it does.
Makes no sense, but, that's pretty much it, so.
More or less, yeah. All right, well, like I said, this is the Crimes of Manitoba, and JT is going to start this episode off.
I am going to start this episode off, and my beer that I wonderfully found in the fridge is one of the last ones that I had that I could use. Was Devil's Backbone Brewing Company Vienna-style lager. Turns out they're like an hour and 45 minutes from me. I might have to make a trip out there. I say that about almost every brewery that I pick in Virginia. And how often do I get anywhere? 2 kids worth, which is nowhere.
Yes, you haven't gone there yet.
No, I haven't. But it's pretty good. I mean, it's a lager. I picked it because it's like light and chill. And I'm not necessarily talking about a case today, but I am talking about kind of more meta stuff in terms of the history and crime in Manitoba. And so I call this poor proactivity and rancid reactivity. That's what I'm going with.
Cool.
Why I picked that when I wrote it, I don't know, because I wrote it 2 months ago. Who knows? So it's going to be my words are going to be a surprise to me, just like they are for everybody else.
Awesome.
Great. So as of late, Mike and I have kind of strayed away from giving context regarding location, history, etc. And we have done some of it. But it's time we got back to that, I think. Because I think it plays a big part in a lot of the stuff. Really, any case that you bring up, I think it's going to play a part.
Yeah, it can, for sure.
So, it's interesting because anything also that I found in terms of cases from Manitoba was beyond sealed. Like, it was just... I had a hard time finding stuff. I remember sending you a message, and I was like, what? Why can't I find anything on this?
Yes, a lot of court cases are sealed in Canada, yes.
Okay, yeah, and I was going to say...
If not most, yeah.
I don't know if... I guess it's privacy laws,
yeah,
whatnot. So, which is probably better off, maybe, unless there's a lot of... No, it doesn't matter. Okay, that's not why I'm here. Why am I here? I don't know why. I don't know why Mike kept me on this show for as long as he has. I'm still confused. But yeah, I'm here to give you a little background regarding Manitoba and specifically Winnipeg, which has been lovingly, daringly, thoughtfully nicknamed Murder Peg.
It sure has, yes.
Oh,
it was
boy.
the murder capital of Canada for a time.
Which, now, for anybody listening in the United States, literally means nothing because it does not hold a candle to one city, let alone,
Well, Canada doesn't hold a candle to one city in the United States. That is Chicago, so.
Right. Well done, Chicago. That I'm telling you
We're
what, that is
number one. We're number one.
That's a score where you want the golf score.
Yeah.
I don't know if people realize this, really. We're not going for any other sport. We're going for golf. So let's talk about the history of Manitoba and then zoom in on the history of Winnipeg. And from there, we'll hop on the crime train, talk a little bit about crime spikes, why it's happening, what can be done to stem the increase. And while we do that, I also have stats comparing Winnipeg to both Richmond, Virginia, and Vancouver. Because, yeah, I was like, why not? Let's try it. So Manitoba has been inhabited by human beings for a long time. Long time. The First Nations people came to Manitoba shortly after the last Ice Age glaciers retreated. When was this? Mike, if you could guess how many years ago that was.
Oh, God. Isn't the world only like 2,000 years old now?
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot. That's what I was told. It started at 0. Nothing before that.
No. I don't actually remember.
That's okay. 19,000 years ago.
Oh, there we go.
So, just about... I'm almost 19,000, so... Eventually, there were Aboriginal settlements from the Ojibwa. If I mispronounce these names, I apologize. I don't think I'm going to, but Ojibwa, Cree... Nope, now I know I am. Is it Dene?
Don't know that one. Sorry.
Sioux, Mandan, and... when I wrote this, I knew these names. Assiniboine?
Assiniboine?
Yeah, that's it. Thank you. That, yes. And I'm sure it's going to come up again, and I'm going to get caught right again. Same way. By the way, not out of disrespect, just out of the fact that I was not prepared. You all now know this. Congrats.
Yes,
You've seen behind the curtain. Those were the notable ones. There were more that entered the area to trade. There was a trading center in what is currently known as Whiteshell Provincial Park region. This also might have served as a place of learning, sharing for over 2,000 years.
Wow.
Which is, as long as the Earth's been around. So we're back to that, right?
Yeah.
That's a really long time. It's
amazing.
As a teacher or instructor, which probably scares everybody listening that I am one, that's awesome. That is so cool. Northern Manitoba areas were mined for quartz that was used to make arrowheads. In 1611, Henry Hudson arrived as one of the first Europeans to sail into what is now known as the Hudson Bay. The first year, right? And I think we're covering that eventually. We will be. We've been talking about it for about a year now, but we're going to do it, damn it. The first European to reach northern Manitoba was Sir Thomas Button in 1612, a year later. Henry Hudson spurred... Yeah, I know, right? Let's put a button on it. Henry spurred the Hudson Bay Company, who traded with native fur traders that canoed along the rivers of Manitoba. French explorers also entered the area to explore and set up their own group called the Northwest Company and began trading with the Métis. Who are the Métis? Well, when Europeans came in and settled, they married indigenous women and had children with them, and these children and their descendants are known as the Métis. Keep that in mind in a little bit.
Yeah.
Up until this... Huh?
I said yes.
Yeah. Up until this point, Manitoba, I suppose to the Europeans, was just, a big piece of land in a place far from home. And
empty wasteland.
Right? And at a certain point, a name had to be discovered or put together. So the name Manitoba originates from the languages of the Aboriginal people who lived on the prairies and traveled the waters. The Aboriginal people, namely Cree... I told you this is going to come up. Assiniboine. Yes? Assiniboine?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Thank you. First Nations. They introduced European explorers and traders and more to the region. They also told them some of the ancient names they lived in. Eventually, after 2 centuries, there was a blending of languages between Europeans and First Nations, and the name Manitoba went through basically an evolution. There is a Lake Manitoba, and at one area, waves wash against the limestone rocks. The sound from the waves is called the Manitou, or Great Spirit. It might be Manitou, actually. Thomas Spence, leader of the Canadian settlement near Portage-la-Prairie. Assuming it's French.
Yes.
And so Thomas Spence was the first person to use the word Manitoba to describe the lake and its surrounding territory. So, thanks, Thomas Spence. Great Britain secured the territory in 1762 as a result of defeating France in the French and Indian War, which lasted from 1754 to 1763. The first agricultural community was founded by Lord Selkirk, which caused a conflict between the British colonists and the Métis. In the scuffle, called the Battle of Seven Oaks, 20 colonists and 1 Métis were killed in 1816. Well done, Métis. Well done.
Yes, good job.
I mean, I don't mean to root against my own people, but I'm rooting against my own people.
I mean, I'm happy I'm here, but yeah, geez, we did a lot of bad.
Yeah, we
historically.
So in terms of the Confederation in the late 19th century, Rupert's Land was ceded to Canada in 1870 and became part of the Northwest Territories. The Métis felt ignored, so they started the Red River Rebellion, headed up by Louis Riel. They established a provisional government called Manitoba. There were negotiations between the provisional government and the Canadian government. This created the Manitoba Act, which created the province of Manitoba and started the process for its entrance into the Confederation in 1870.
United States fought to get out of one, and they fought to get in.
Yeah, well, different strokes for different folks.
Exactly.
Late 19th century. Okay. Breathe, here we go. Right. The provincial government was controlled by Anglo-Canadians. The agreement they came to, aka the Manitoba Act, included guarantees that Métis would receive grants of land and that their existing unofficial land holding would be recognized. This was largely ignored.
Of course.
The land was given to Anglo settlers coming in from Ontario. Due to the influx of white settlers and the rampant racism, the Métis decided to move in large numbers to what would become Saskatchewan in Alberta. So they moved west. The province was originally 1/8 its current size. 1874 and 1876 saw 2 plots of land in southern Manitoba called the East and West Reserve for a Russian Mennonite settlement. Which, we're all over the place in this history. Yeah. But yeah, Russian Mennonites. In the years that followed, thousands of Mennonites immigrated to the area. In 1875, a group of Icelandic immigrants settled on the west shore of Lake Winnipeg in Gillian and founded the community of New Iceland. It's the largest settlement of Icelanders outside of Iceland. I didn't know this.
I didn't either, but I mean, if you're going to pick somewhere that's going to be New Iceland, you might as well be a place that gets colder than the surface of the moon in the winter.
Somehow I feel like you have a stat to back that up.
Yeah, there's a meme out there that's true.
Oh, that's amazing. I do like it when memes are actually true. So there were what's called the numbered treaties in the late 19th century. So these treaties were signed with chiefs of various First Nations that still lived in the area, and they included promises of land, there's a theme, to every family, and resulted in a reserve system being established under the jurisdiction of the Government of Canada. The prescribed land was not always given, which led Aboriginal groups to assert their rights through Aboriginal land claims. And many of these claims are still ongoing today. It's insane.
Yeah.
So in the 20th century, Winnipeg became the 3rd largest city in Canada and grew quickly due to the outside investors, immigration, railway trains, and businesses.
And then it shrunk.
What?
I said, but then it shrunk. Right. It's not that big now.
No. During World War I, the site began slowing in growth as money was diverted to the war and it wasn't being invested in the city. Mm-hmm. The Great Depression hit Western Canada hard, lasting from 29 to 39 in the 1900s, for those of you, yes, and seemed to be even worse in Manitoba. Then, right after that, World War II occurred. These events were back-to-back, but they made it through, and they grew. So, current stats.
Manitoba.
That is the perfect name for a grow or a marijuana business.
Yeah, yeah.
Manitoba.
It probably exists.
All I'm saying is that if it doesn't and somebody takes that name, 10% comes this way.
Yeah,
Is
exactly.
that considered drug deal? I don't know. It's business.
Yeah, I don't know.
Who knows?
I mean, hey, there was marijuana or cannabis commercials at the theater the other day, so
That's amazing.
adult only theater, but still.
Everybody's in the theater. There's like this large like cloud above them, and they're just like, "Yeah, we know." So, Manitoba is currently sitting at 64,995 square kilometers, or just over 25,000 square miles. Manitoba is 6.5% of Canada and is ranked 8th in size. The population's estimated for quarter 3 in 2022 at just over 1.4 million. Winnipeg has a population of 749,607 in 2021, and the next city has 51,000, which is called Brandon, and then 17,800, which is Steinbach. So it drops.
Yeah.
A 2006 census showed the following. The group is composed of around 23% English, 19% German, 18.5% Scottish, 14.7% Ukrainian, 13.4% Irish, 10.6% Indigenous, then Polish, Métis, French, Dutch, Russian, Icelandic. Half of those surveyed still responded Canadian. So,
yeah.
Glory to Canada. I'm not anything. I'm just
strong
Canadian.
and free.
Strong and free. So, some of the people from Manitoba, folks may have heard of them. They might not have. I tried to find people that people would know. Of course, the first person that I say is a long track speed skater, Cindy Classett. I don't know how many long track speed skater fans we have out there.
I'm pretty sure she was an Olympian.
I think she was too. Sir William Stevenson, a Canadian soldier, airman, inventor, and spy master. In fact, Ian Fleming once said that 007 is the highly romanticized version of him as a spy. Correction. He said 007 is a highly romanticized version of a spy. If you want the real thing, look to Stevenson. So Ian Fleming was like, that's the dude.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is pretty badass if you think about it.
Yep.
There's also a ton of hockey players.
You don't say.
Just saying.
They actually have winter outdoor rinks there because it's cold enough.
There are some wrestlers that are from Manitoba, including Chris Jericho, Kenny Omega, and Rowdy Roddy Piper. So that's kind of
I've heard of him.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of curlers are from Manitoba.
A lot of people like to sweep.
Right? It sounds like I'm making a joke, but the reality is I took a look at the list, and it literally had, like, hockey players and then a page, and, like, curlers and then, like, a page. So I was like, I'm just going to condense these into what they do. But also some really popular bands: Bachman Turner Overdrive, Crash Test Dummies, Neil Young, The Guess Who. They are all from Manitoba.
Yep.
Charles Thompson, the creator of Bugs Bunny, is from there. Yeah, and
Winnie
the Pooh was named for Winnipeg.
Yep.
So there's a little bit of that. That's fun. Winnipeg, for as much history as Manitoba has, Winnipeg has... Well, you know what? Let's talk about Winnipeg for a second. It is the largest city in the province of Manitoba and is known as the Gateway to the West, as it's a railway and transportation hub.
Yeah, sure is.
It is indeed named after Lake Winnipeg, because we're all original here. The English explorer Henry Kelsey was probably the first European to see the lake in 1960. In 1690. Poof, we went from disco to a three-piece. I have no idea. But he adopted the Cree Ojibwa name Winnipeg, and that's where that came from. The date of the first settlement in Winnipeg was 11,500 years ago. Sierra de la Verendrye.
Keith Richards might have been there.
You know what? It's true. I was there. It was me. Me and
he looks like it, at least.
It's true. I know. Am I right? He taught Jesus how to riff. It's just... Oh, man. That guy that I just said built the first fur trading post on site in 1738, and that was called Fort Rouge, which is kind of cool. I like that name. On November 8th, 1873, Winnipeg was incorporated as a city and developed rapidly after the arrival of the Canadian Pacific Railway in 1881. The rail divided the city, which in turn divided the Eastern Europeans from the more affluent Anglo-Saxon part of the city, and that created a demographic shift which led Premier Thomas Greenway to end the legislative bilingualism and remove funding from French Catholic schools in 1890.
Wow.
This was not popular.
I believe it. With all
I
the
know.
Métis.
All right. By 1911, Winnipeg was Canada's third largest city. Jumping forward were economic downturns and advance of the 1986 recession. In 1981, Winnipeg was one of the first cities in Canada to sign the tri-party agreement with the provincial and federal governments to redevelop the downtown area. They received over $271 million to do so.
Damn, that's some money.
It's a hefty chunk
Especially
of
back then.
change. I don't know what they did with it. Hopefully they did what they said, but who knows?
Probably not a heck of a lot. It's the government.
Yep. Good enough for government work. Winnipeg's extremely flat and it's prone to flooding. It has an area of 464 square kilometers, 180 square miles. There are 236 neighborhoods in Winnipeg. 72,000 people work downtown with 40,000 students attending colleges and universities. That's a lot. That is a huge amount. Like, that's your economy right there. There's 100 languages spoken in the city. Oh, yeah, there's farming, I guess. Winnipeg is represented by 15 city councilors and a mayor, both of which are elected every 4 years. Oh, now let's get into the crime, shall we? This is what everybody was waiting for. From 2007 to 2011, Winnipeg was the murder capital of Canada, with the highest per capita rate of homicides. Crime mostly concentrates in the inner city, which makes up 19% of the population, but also makes up 86.4% of shootings, 66.5% of robberies, 63.3% of homicides, and 59.5% of sexual assaults in 2012.
That's horrifying.
Yeah, just for 19% of the population, that's... I can't math, but if I can math, I would be even more terrified, for sure.
Yes.
As of
1/3 is larger than 1/4.
It's hard for people to understand, but it's true.
Yes.
All right. As of 2018, Winnipeg police had just over 1,900 officers, which is 1 per 551 residents. So let's do a brief crime comparison between Richmond, Virginia, Winnipeg, and Vancouver. Because
all right,
why not? Keep in mind that this information's only as good as the folks they interviewed or surveyed. So let's just keep that in mind.
So it's not very good.
No. So Winnipeg is ranked highest in the following areas over Richmond and Vancouver. They're ranked highest in crime index, level of crime increase over 3 years, people worrying that things are going to be stolen from their cars, property crimes, doing or dealing drugs, and violent crimes. And because of that, it is ranked lowest in safety scale. So,
poor Winnipeg.
Yeah, so let's compare the overall numbers. I took the average of things I just mentioned. The goal is not to be high on these numbers. Again, golf score. So Winnipeg scores at a 65.08. Richmond is at a 55.66. And Vancouver is sitting at 51.28. Go Vancouver.
Woohoo!
I was actually really surprised I was surprised for two reasons. One, that we weren't higher and that you weren't lower. But
still big city problems.
and again, I mentioned that this is only as good as the people they interviewed, right? Mm-hmm. They could have just been having a shit day. So you're only as good as the data you have. Yeah, so overall, those things do give a comparison of the big problems. So and I wanted to talk a little bit about crime since the pandemic lockdown, too. As restrictions lifted, violent and property crime across Winnipeg compared to a 5-year average saw a 40% increase.
Holy shit.
It's like they were just holding. They were like, hold, go.
Yeah, and I mean, certain provinces didn't really care as much about lockdowns and everything.
Sure.
So I'm surprised it was that big of a surge.
Specifically for Manitoba?
Yeah.
Yep. We didn't want, not to say it, but to say it, yes. Michael Weinrock, the University of Winnipeg criminology professor, said that there is now greater opportunity for criminals to happen, and since more folks are out and about, more targets are out. So that's duh.
Yeah, and that's just not Manitoba. That's the prairies in general seem to be that way during COVID.
Kelly Gorkoff, a criminologist. I love that last name, Gorkoff. It's I don't know why I like it, but like I want to form a law firm with her. Like Gorkoff.
Maybe another new alien race in some sci-fi show.
Right.
The Gorkoff.
Right. So she says this was all rising pre-pandemic, and she agrees with Weinrath in terms of why, but she says that this isn't what triggered the increase. It just kind of continued.
Yeah.
Police? What do you think they say?
We need more money.
You need more money?
That's probably what they're saying. I disagree.
No, police say that they need more time to determine if the pandemic affected crime and what trends emerge.
Okay.
Constable Jay Murray said, quote, "We don't know what the new normal is." I think we're at that point where you probably should.
Yeah, you should, yeah.
And honestly, it sounds like the old normal was fucking terrible anyways. So,
yeah.
Okay. They of course say that there was an increase between 2018 and 19 when meth took hold. So.
That's not when meth took hold.
Yep, well, according
meth
to that.
Meth was already on the way out by then. Like fentanyl was taken over by then. Come on.
They're a little behind. Criminologist Frank Cornier says that the police are correct to be cautious. Sure, okay, that's fine. Daniel Hidalgo, the co-founder of SABE, or S-A-B-E, Peace Walkers, a de-escalation team, says, "A lot of the people that find themselves in these scenarios of breaking law and committing crime are unfortunately victims of addictions, and they're trying to find ways of alleviating their disease of addiction."
Yes.
I really like this guy, Daniel Hidalgo. His group, the Peace Walkers, sound like a really cool group. So it's clear that the roots of the issues need to be addressed and not just the symptoms.
Of course, yeah. Fund social services.
Yeah. Imagine. What? Weinrath says, quote, "We have a high rate of poverty in the city. We have disadvantaged populations. We have some serious substance abuse and mental health issues and street gangs as well." And even Constable Dan McKinnon agrees with this. Gorkoff, however, says, quote, "I think we continue to spend more money on policing, and we don't need to do that if crimes are continuing to increase. That really means policing's not a solution to the crime."
Yeah, it's not working.
Right. Gorkoff also had a few other awesome thoughts. Unresolved effects of colonization on indigenous people. Huge issues there.
Huge issues, yes.
Healthcare inequality. High poverty rates. Winnipeg has the lowest minimum wage of any Canadian city that has a population of over 500,000.
Oh, Jesus.
There's a lack of affordable housing and a lack of mental health and substance abuse support.
Did you happen to write down what the minimum wage was there?
It is... On October 1st, 2023, minimum wage will increase from $14.50 to $15 an hour.
Yeah, what is it here? I guess in BC it's now $15.65 an hour.
Yeah, so it's still it's $15.65.
And that's province wide.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So figure your shit out. In terms of mental health support and attacking the root of the issues, 2018 review of Manitoba's entire health and addiction services published by Virgo Planning and Evaluation Consultants resulted in a number of recommendations for improving access to and coordination of mental health services. I do remember this, and this is going to piss you off. And it should piss everybody else off that's listening. They recommended boosting funds and need for greater crisis support and collaboration between treatment services for seamless plans of care. Gorkoff says police haven't heeded these suggestions. After 4 years, here is where the provincial government is on the suggestions. They have fully addressed a grand total of 7 of the 125 recommendations.
And they probably think they're moving fast.
Sure do. 76 have been partially addressed, and 42 have not been addressed at all.
Jesus.
The province has spent $7.58 million on 40 initiatives to address mental health addictions, in addition to not paying attention to the recommendations at all. So, why even get this group to do this
Yeah,
thing.
exactly.
Like, what's the point? And $7.58 million is literally nothing.
No, it's nothing. Yeah.
You're obviously not paying people minimum wage. So where's it going?
Exactly.
Constable Jay Murray said officers have created a drug enforcement unit, firearms investigative enforcement unit, and guns and gangs unit, which is literally all punitive. All punitive, all reactive, not proactive.
Yeah,
Ow.
no. You'll never stop crime with reactive because
No.
you're reacting.
Right.
You've got to
It's
you've
too
got to
late.
stop it before it starts.
Right. Cornier says that most people want a good job and they want to have a stable, secure life, and that's one way to bring down homicide rates. You get them that. They have no reason. Well, I mean, some of them will find a reason, sure. You know, there's one misprinted M&M in a bag, you know. It's always going to happen. But, you know, start fixing the issues. Preventing crime through deterrence, as we just said, doesn't work, and it never has. Bonnie Emerson, the superintendent of communication engagement for Winnipeg Police Services, said, quote, "We know that there's contributing factors and that this is a complex problem. The challenge is people want one simple answer." No, we don't. We want you to follow up on the 125 recommendations that were given to you. It's not a simple answer. But look, here's like a 6-part plan of how to be proactive. Do it.
Exactly.
So obviously that is a lot of like, you know, PR talk is what that is.
Absolutely, yeah. But that's what they do, right?
Yep. And honestly, it's what she's paid for, so well done. Well done, Bonnie. Well done. Law enforcement actually even went so far as to blame the media, because that's what they do.
What are they going to blame music and video games?
Oh, man, I'm waiting for it, dude. Here's how well all of their deterrence is doing. I love this kind of thing. When I can find this as just how terrible they're doing.
Yeah.
As of August 30th, 2022, there were 522 crimes involving youth between 12 to 17. More than half, 201, were charged. I can't imagine charging. I mean, I can imagine charging a 12-year-old if they do something, but like,
yeah.
What? There's so much you can. Okay, 1,400 to 1,500 active gang members are involved in as many as 35 gangs.
Jesus.
So much for that brand new gang unit you have.
Yeah.
That includes the 334 Mob Squad, African Mafia, Indian Posse, Mad Cows, Native Syndicate, Most Organized Brothers, a.k.a. Mob, and the West Side Bloods.
Wow, there's some Bloods there, is there?
Yeah, possibly active are the Crips and the Pitbull Army.
Wow, I didn't know there was any Bloods and Crips in Canada. There is definitely, it isn't in BC.
Yeah, and there's a ton more. I just picked the bigger ones.
And then there's, you know, Hell's Angels and other biker gangs and all that stuff too.
Right, and so the bottom line here is that through this entire history and all these issues and all of this, you know, just mass hate, racism, this whole sordid history that has happened, it's not enough just to recognize what happened. You have to work towards fixing the issues.
Yeah.
And so what they're doing is not working, so change the methods. Get your hands dirty, right? And
Yeah,
I don't mean
exactly.
cleaning your gun. I mean, like, get your hands dirty. The public knows that solutions in this problem, they know that it's nuanced. They're not dumb.
Yeah, no, for sure.
It's obvious that the government and police don't know that. Not genuinely, anyways. And honestly, I think it's the other way around than what Bonnie said. I think the police want a simple answer. They want the answer of, well, more police, more funding, more units. And honestly, they're never going to find a simple answer. It doesn't exist.
No, it doesn't exist.
So they can blame us all they want for us wanting a simple answer, but the reality is they tend to think just reactive will do it. Having talked about all of that,
there's going to be a slight break in this theme because we've got episode 100 part 1 and part 2, or part AB, not sure. That is going to be with my former co-hosts and JT as well. So it's going to be everyone.
the roast of Mike.
Ah, yes.
It
so you
wasn't.
will have... Yes, we've already recorded it.
It's true.
Yeah. So you'll have back in Nina and JT and me. And then we'll get back to my case.
It's the quartet from hell.
Yes. And I'll say, shout out to my friends, Torque Brewing and Devil May Care Brewing in Winnipeg.
Hey! Hi,
And
friends.
my friends that I have there. I'm not going to name you all, but hello.
Sorry for insulting your area.
Yes, and down
Honestly,
with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Dude, yeah. I don't think I just kind of brought the facts and commented on the facts. I don't know if
Yeah.
it's not like I came up with a name like Sassy Scatchy for you. So
It's true. We'll
just
think
wait,
of
it. Winnie the Peg.
Peggy Waggy.
Winnie the Pegged?
Oh, God. That's a different Winnie.
It...
Oh, my.
Well, you're welcome, everybody.
Thanks for tuning into Brew Crime. You can find us on all social media platforms at Brew Crime. We have a Facebook group, Brew Crime the Group. If you would like to support the show, head to patreon.com/brewcrime now. The money goes towards upgrading equipment and making the show that much better. You get one bonus episode a month, as well as early ad-free access to our episodes. So shout out to our Patreon supporters. True Crime Nana, Three Beers In Podcast, and the Faves of Our Lives Podcast. Bye.
Later. Winnie.
All cases on Brew Crime are written by Mike and JT or a writer we credit on the episode, and sources are put into our show notes for each episode. We always want to give credit to the people that research the cases we talk about. Check out our store at tpublic.com/stores/brew-crime-podcast, where you can purchase gear like t-shirts, phone cases, stickers, pillows, and all kinds of other cool stuff. Brew Crime's intro was created by Mike using Creative Commons Attribution licensed audio from purple-planet.com, soundbible.com, and freesoundeffects.com. Logo designed by Ben Greenberg. Thanks for listening to this episode of Brew Crime Podcast.
Oh, hey there. You like true crime stories, right? Yeah, I know. Who doesn't? But I gotta admit, after a while, all those stories of murder and heartache, well, they tend to go straight to my hips. So that's why I, Leroy Luna, have created a podcast called Excuse Me, That's Illegal, where we'll take a hardcore look at some softcore crimes. No TED Talks on Bundy here. The letters BTK won't be coming from these lips. Unless he had a brother that used to steal library books. Suppose I'd be willing to go balls deep into that one if that were the case. Anyways, you'll hear stories such as the Mad Pooper, a female jogger who wreaked havoc in a Colorado Springs neighborhood, using one family's front yard as her own personal dumping grounds. If this kind of content sounds like it's up your alley, Excuse Me, That's Illegal is available right now on all your favorite podcatchers. So come join me. I'll be right here waiting for you.
Ontario.
Ontario.
Yeah. I don't know why I say Ontario. I know it's... My brain was like, what if you get it wrong?
Let's do it wrong.
Let's do it wrong. Why not? Yes? West.
Yep.
West. Geography. Which is funny because that's the next section. In the 20th century, Winnipeg became the third tripartite. We're going to say tri-party agreement. They recommend...
What's our outro again? I haven't done this in so long. 1 second.
Something about Patreon, people.
Yeah, I've got a script for it. Burp.